Imagine this. You're watching your favorite morning show, coffee in hand, when suddenly, a man gets down on one knee. He proposes to his girlfriend live on air. It's a grand, romantic gesture. The kind you see in movies, everyone cheers. The camera zooms in, and the woman says, yes. It's a picture-perfect moment. But what if, just 2 days later, that same woman vanished without a trace? This isn't the plot of a thriller movie. This is the baffling true story of Cheryl Sheppard. January 2nd, 1998. It was a chilly Friday in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Cheryl Sheppard, a vibrant 29-year-old woman, was at the CHCH television station. She was there to support her boyfriend of 18 months, Mark. Mark was part of a local band, and they were scheduled to perform on a morning news program. Cheryl was in the audience, beaming with pride, watching him live out his dream. The band finished their set, and the host started chatting with them. Then, in a move that surprised everyone, including Cheryl, Mark turned to the camera. He started talking about his girlfriend, how much he loved her, how she was his everything. And then, he called her up on stage. You can imagine the scene. The audience is buzzing, the studio lights are bright. A slightly flustered but smiling, Cheryl makes her way to the stage. That's when Mark Catley got down on one knee, pulled out a ring, and asked Cheryl Sheppard to marry him in front of thousands of viewers. Overwhelmed with emotion, she said yes. The studio erupted in applause. It was a fairy tale moment, broadcast for all to see. They were engaged, they were in love, and their future seemed incredibly bright. They left the studio that day on cloud 9, ready to start planning their life together. But this fairy tale was about to take a very dark turn. Just 2 days later, on Sunday, January 4th, Cheryl Sheppard disappeared. So what happened in those 48 hours between the public proposal and the moment she vanished? Let's piece together the timeline. After the show, Cheryl and Mark spent the day celebrating. They went back to the apartment they shared, made phone calls to excited family and friends, and basked in their newly engaged status. By all accounts, everything seemed normal, even perfect. The next day, Saturday, January 3rd, was a typical day. They ran errands, spent time together. There were no signs of trouble, no arguments reported, nothing out of the ordinary. The last confirmed sighting of Cheryl by anyone other than her fiancé was that Saturday. On Sunday, January 4th, the story starts to get murky. According to Mark Catley, he and Cheryl spent the morning together at their apartment on the Hamilton mountain brow. Around noon, he says, Cheryl told him she was going out. She needed to go to the store to pick up a few things for a modeling portfolio she was putting together. She was an aspiring model and was excited about this new project. Mark said she took his car, a gray 1985 Ford Tempo, and told him she'd be back in a little while. She never came back. Hours went by. Afternoon turned into evening. Mark started to worry. He tried calling her, but this was 1998. Long before everyone had a cell phone glued to their hand, there was no answer. He called friends. He called her family. No one had seen or heard from her. As the night wore on, his worry turned to panic. The next morning, Monday, January 5th, with Cheryl still missing, Mark Catley reported her disappearance to the police. Initially, police might have thought she just got cold feet. A sudden proposal. The pressure of a wedding. Maybe she just needed some space. But that theory didn't sit right with Cheryl's family and friends. They described her as reliable, responsible, and deeply in love with Mark. She was incredibly close to her mother and would never just leave without a word. It was completely out of character. This wasn't a case of a runaway bride. Something was terribly wrong. The investigation began. Police focused on the last person to see her, Ha Nyu Fayang Mak Kyatori. His story was simple. She went to the store and never returned. Detectives questioned him extensively. He cooperated, maintained his story, and appeared to be a distraught fiancé, desperate for his partner's return. There was no physical evidence of a struggle in their apartment, no signs of foul play. On the surface, his story seemed plausible. 2 days after she was reported missing, a crucial piece of evidence was found. On January 7th, Cheryl's car, or rather, Mark's Ford Tempo that she had borrowed, was discovered. It was parked behind a bus depot in another part of Hamilton, about a 15-minute drive from their apartment. The car was unlocked, and the keys were still in the ignition. Inside, police found Cheryl's purse. Her wallet, her ID, her money, it was all still there. This was a huge red flag. If this was a robbery, why was her purse left behind? And if she had left on her own, why would she abandon the car with her belongings inside? Keys in the ignition, in a somewhat random location. It just didn't make sense. The discovery of the car only deepened the mystery and heightened the fear for Cheryl's safety. The police processed the vehicle for any forensic evidence, fingerprints, fibers, anything that could point them to what happened, but the car offered up very few clues. With little physical evidence, investigators had to rely on witness accounts and re-examining the timeline. And this is where things started to get complicated for Mark Catley. While he publicly pleaded for Cheryl's return, some of his actions behind the scenes raised eyebrows. Police learned that the day after he reported Cheryl missing again, before her car was even found, Mark had gone out and purchased a brand new car for himself. For many, this seemed like a strange priority for a man whose fiancée had just vanished. When questioned, he explained that he needed a vehicle to get to work and to help in the search. But the timing was odd, to say the least. Then, the focus turned to their relationship. While the O&A proposal painted a picture of pure romance, investigators started to hear whispers of a more troubled reality. Friends of Cheryl came forward and told police that the relationship wasn't always a fairy tale. They said there had been arguments, and that Cheryl had even expressed doubts about their future just weeks before the proposal. This new information cast the public engagement in a different light. Was it a spontaneous act of love? Or was it something else? A desperate attempt to lock down a relationship that was starting to crumble. The case went cold, but it was never forgotten. For years, Cheryl's family held on to hope. Her mother, Joanne, became a fierce advocate for her daughter, never letting the public or the police forget about Cheryl. She organized vigils, gave interviews, and worked tirelessly to keep the case in the spotlight. Then, years later, a new development emerged thanks to advancements in forensic technology. Police decided to re-examine the evidence they had collected back in 1998, including items from the apartment Cheryl and Mark shared. One of those items was a pair of Mark's work boots. Using new techniques, forensic analysts were able to find something that had been missed years earlier. A small, almost microscopic spot of blood on one of the boots. DNA testing was performed on the blood spot. The results were a bombshell. The blood belonged to Cheryl Sheppard. This was the breakthrough investigators had been waiting for. It was the first piece of physical evidence linking Mark Catley directly to Cheryl's disappearance and likely her death. The presence of her blood on his boot completely contradicted his story that she had simply left for the store and never come back. Based on this new evidence, in 2012, a full 14 years after Cheryl vanished, Mark Catley was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The man who had proposed on live television was now accused of killing his fiancée just 2 days later. Mark Catley's defense team fought back hard. They argued that the blood spot was tiny and could have gotten there in a completely innocent way. Maybe Cheryl had a nosebleed or a small cut, and a droplet transferred to his boot while they were living together. They maintained that there was no other evidence. No body had ever been found. No one had witnessed a crime, and there was no confession. They argued that the prosecution's case was built entirely on speculation and a single, microscopic drop of blood. The jury was faced with a difficult decision. On one hand, you had the suspicious behavior of the fiancé and the damning blood evidence. On the other, you had the complete lack of a body and a case that was purely circumstantial. After deliberating, the jury came back with their verdict. Mark Catley was found not guilty. He walked out of the courtroom a free man. To this day, he maintains his innocence. So what really happened to Cheryl Sheppard? Legally, the case is closed. But morally, the questions linger. If Mark Catley didn't kill her, then who did? Did she have a secret she was hiding? Did she meet with foul play at the hands of a stranger after leaving her apartment that day? Or is the simplest explanation the most likely one, that her fiancé's, the last person to see her alive, was responsible for her disappearance? Without a body, without a confession, and without further evidence, we may never know the full truth. The story of Cheryl Sheppard serves as a haunting reminder that things aren't always as they seem. A moment of public joy, a fairy tale proposal broadcast for the world to see, can hide a much darker and more tragic reality. Cheryl's body has never been found, and her family has never gotten the closure they so desperately deserve. She remains a missing person. Her case, a chilling and unsolved mystery. Thanks for watching! If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into mysterious cases. Let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments below. See you next time!